I'll never forgive you.
Well, you're going to have to.
Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another video. Ever since Boba Fett witnessed his father being beheaded by Mace Windu, he had a vengeance against the Jedi Master. Even though Boba failed to seek revenge over him and was arrested for the attempt, the feelings of hatred and anger never went away. When Mace Windu supposedly died in Revenge of the Sith and after Order 66 with the subsequent replacement of the Republic with the First Galactic Empire, the news of the eradication of the Jedi Order spread across the galaxy. The propaganda was extreme, and the Empire's narrative is that the Jedi were traitors who needed to be destroyed. This narrative carried on for years after the fall of the Republic, and the brainwashing was immense, not only about the Jedi, but also the way that the Empire tried to brand itself as a heroic cause that the galaxy couldn't do without. A brilliant example of this is found in Star Wars Rebels. In the episode titled Empire Day, we see just how manipulative the regime was in convincing citizens across the galaxy of its agenda.
You heard the man. Raise your cups to Emperor.
So with all of that said, we come to the big question of the video. Did Boba ever find out about Mace Windu's death? And if so, how did he react? Well, so far my friends, there is no definitive answer in either canon or legends, but the unanimous answer that many Star Wars fans hold is that he most likely did find out. After all, Order 66 was such a massive event, and with all the anti-Jedi messaging that the Empire put out in its early years, it's impossible that young Boba didn't hear about it somehow. Now, as we learn in the canon novel Lost Stars by Claudia Gray, the Empire publicly named and shamed Mace Windu after his death. But what was said was obviously all a lie, to convince the galaxy that both he and Master Yoda were dangerous. So you might be wondering, what did the Empire say about them? Well, specifically, in relation to Mace Windu, they said that he was an evil man with cunning. They branded him as the leader of a criminal gang that interfered with a very much legal execution on Geonosis. The Empire also lied in saying that this is what sparked the Clone Wars. So as you can see, they absolutely tarnished Mace Windu's image. Word spread about this and it probably got to Boba, and even if he didn't hear about this story, he would have learned about Order 66. He probably assumed that Mace Windu died along with most of the other Jedi, and knowing how Boba thinks, he probably had mixed emotions. On the one hand, he was glad that the man who killed his father was dealt with, but on the other, he was probably angry because he wasn't the one who killed him. As the mentors of Crate's Claw would have taught him, revenge is a sweet thing. And by the time of Order 66, Boba would have fantasized every detail of how he wanted to get revenge over Mace himself. But here is where things get really interesting. As you guys know, I'm not convinced that Mace died. If you want to hear my full argument, check out this video where I lay it all out. Simply put, I don't think there's any way that Mace Windu died in episode 3, and even George Lucas believed this to be the case. With Mace Windu still possibly out there, and maybe even still alive by the time of The Mandalorian, I think it would be amazing if we saw Boba Fett finding out that contrary to what he'd been told, the purple lightsaber wielding badass is still out there. And we must wonder, how would a mature and older Boba Fett react? What emotions would go through his head, and what would that confrontation look like? I've always said that the Book of Boba Fett is the perfect place to reintroduce Mace Windu, or at the very least, acknowledge him. You simply can't have a Boba series without mentioning the man who killed Jango Fett. A lot of people just remember Jango's relationship to Boba as transactional, but it was so much more than that. Jango was recruited by Count Dooku to be the template for the clone army created by the Kaminoans. He agreed, and in addition to the fee of 20 million credits, Jango requested an unaltered clone for himself, one who was not subjected to the typical growth acceleration and behavioral modifications given to the clone troopers, and this clone was Boba. And while there is of course a transactional nature to some of this, Jango did raise Boba as his own son, and the two were very close. The training that Jango put Boba through was intense. Oftentimes Jango would take him on missions across the galaxy and teach him everything he knew about the profession of bounty hunting. When Boba was orphaned, he was completely broken by his father's death, something only briefly alluded to in Attack of the Clones with that famous scene. So Jango's death in many ways was a hugely defining moment in Boba's life, and I doubt that even after all these years, he would have forgotten. He absolutely hated Mace Windu with a burning passion, and even though Boba is older now and has so much more life experience, I don't think he'd be too pleased to find out if Mace Windu is still alive. Just like so many other fans, I would love to see that confrontation, and I don't think anyone could pull it off better than Robert Rodriguez, especially with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau producing. Now, I completely understand that not everyone is a fan of Mace Windu surviving, and that's fine, but there's way too much evidence out there that not only Mace Windu survived, but also that Lucasfilm are very keen to bring him back. I break it all down in my other video, so go check that out. And obviously from Disney's perspective, if they do bring Mace back, they're going to rake in the cash with merchandise. He was one of the most iconic Jedi from the prequels, and they know how badly some fans want him back. And by no means am I the only channel who's talking about this. Boba is a very complex character, and he's evolved a lot over the years. Even though the Book of Boba Fett takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, he will be a very changed character compared to the original trilogy. We learned in The Mandalorian Season 2 that he still got it, and by no means has he lost his edge, but he would have matured a lot and would be an expert at his craft. And as his new catchphrase for more of the bounty hunters goes, there's always a way, and I think we're going to see him live by that in the Book of Boba Fett. Recently we had the supposed episode title leaks from Giant Frickin' Robots, and the season finale is reportedly called The Hunter. Now these episode titles could be wrong, and let's be honest, they probably are, but if they're not, I could definitely imagine the Book of Boba Fett ending on a cliffhanger where Boba finds out that Mace Windu is still out there and survived, and so he begins his hunt for the Lost Jedi. This would also beg the question of what Mace has been up to all these years, but that's where a possible season 2 could come in, where Boba Fett finally finds him. I'm just speculating at this point, and there is of course a big possibility that Mace Windu is dead according to canon, but I'm not convinced of it. I hope that we do get some answers as to Boba's emotions, especially now after all these years since the Battle of Geonosis, and even if we don't, the Book of Boba Fett is going to be some of the most epic, dark and gritty Star Wars content we've had in a very long time. I really can't wait, and I'm sure it's going to blow our minds. But what do you guys make of this in the comments down below? How do you think Boba Fett reacted when he found out that Mace Windu died? Would he be relieved, or would he be angry that he's not the one who killed him? I have full faith that the show is going to live up to its name. Robert Rodriguez has teased that it's going to over-deliver, and I'm sure he's absolutely right. We know it's going to do justice to original trilogy fans with some classic bounty hunters, and now that we know Temuera Morrison is going to be doing some of his own stunts, we're in for an absolute treat. The action scenes in particular are going to be a highlight. Just look at what we got in season 2 chapter 14. As Robert Rodriguez said, that is absolutely nothing compared to what's in store for this show. I hope you guys are excited because I really just can't contain myself. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and a massive welcome if you are, and also my dear friends, please consider becoming a patron. The link is down there in the description, and you get access to my Discord server and also exclusive videos that are not found here on YouTube. I will be posting a very special one soon, so do stay tuned for that. But otherwise, may the Force be with you, have an amazing day no matter where you are. I'm Star Wars Meg, and I'll see you tomorrow.